From when we were showing you films in the late 90s and 90s, there was films that you were talking about where your filmmaking process or your strategy was you had just a series of still photos. You went to places and photographed them and essentially edited the film in still photos. And then you shot it as well, as I recall. And I was wondering if that was any sort of strategy that came into place with this. Did you find your locations before you filmed? How did you relate your process to photography?
I actually started that way back with the One Way Boogie Woogie in 1977. I filmed the Industrial Valley in Milwaukee with still photographs and determined 60 locations that I would go back to and create little mini narratives. And so that was a very early technique. But for Valley Centro, I did a lot of research. I read a lot of things about the valley from many different points of view, from reading old novels of the octopus and the grapes of wrath, things like that, to poetry and local writers like, what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name now. He's a really great local writer. He used to teach at a junior college in the valley. Anyway, I did a lot of reading, and then I was going to do a lot of driving around and looking, and the first trip I went on is when the oil well fire happened. So I drove right back, got my camera, and did the shot, and then once I started shooting, I just kept shooting. So I did the actual driving research. I just brought a camera from then on because I didn't want to miss them. I realized these things can happen, and I might miss them. Although the oil well fire lasted for 36 days before they put it out. But after, that was actually a natural gas well. But when I was filming it, it was burning oil, because oil came up first. And after 3 or 4 days, once the oil burned off, it was just this, like a Bunsen burner blue flame that was going like 80 feet into the air, going, which was spectacular too, but not like the rolling kind of oil fire that was shot. It actually was put out by Coots and Boots, who were also went to the Middle East when those oil wells were on fire, and they're a Texas outfit, probably connected to Cheney. There were 5 guys fighting that fire, and they were making $50,000 a day.
That's pretty good. It's a part of the job. Then the other 2 films, did you again choose the locations before filming? And to what degree was a mix of that and just going around?
Los Angeles, I just knew what I liked, the things I liked about it, and then that could exhaust like 90 shots right away. So I had to I didn't do a whole lot of research to find more, because I already knew somewhat what I wanted to. I wanted to deal with automobiles, of course, and I wanted to deal with things that I've already started to deal with in Valley Centro, water and recreation and things like that. So. And trains, they show a commuter train. So there would always be a connection between the films. And when I started Los, I thought it was just going to be 2 films, a rural film and a city film. And then halfway through Los, I decided that I should do one that's in the wilderness. And my initial idea was to do 35 shots that wouldn't show people at all. It would be like the first 7 or 8 shots of the film, where it's kind of biblical and you just see landscapes without any reference to humans at all. But that was difficult to do, because I would run into things that I thought were more, would be interesting to add. So slowly I wanted to deal with encroachment of people, and I like the helicopter to be the first thing that you see that comes in from the top, kind of, and dips in, gets water, and goes away. And then I don't know.
What were some of the shots you threw away from Sogobi?
I can't remember, there were so many of them. I mean, they're just stuff out, mainly, they were mainly those kind of shots like the beginning that didn't have people in it. Because even as I made the film, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I wanted to have enough shots to have it all pristine nature if I wanted to do that.
But you didn't pre-order the film though. You did really sequence the film after you'd shot it.
Yeah, and I all three of the films I sequenced in a similar way that I would know the kind of the first and last shot, and then I knew that I was always making reference to water through the film, so I'd place those water shots in, and then I would start to rearrange what to put where according to color and texture and movement and noise and a lot of different variables. So I just have cards and I move them around and I think, oh, that works together. Oh no, now I got two shots that are way too noisy, or they're both red, or I have to move that. And then when you move this, that's like a domino effect. You have to move 8 other shots. So it's
I was wondering about the horizon lines in all three of the films, and how in the last film, maybe it's just the way I'm remembering the other two, the last film seemed to have a lot less consistent horizon lines.
well, the first one, it was purposeful because the valley is this vast, large fields, and you're always looking into the z-axis, so you're very aware of that. And so that kind of set up an architecture for the film. And then when I went to do Los, that was more difficult to do, but I wanted to maintain some of that. But that breaks down too when you go downtown, the multi-level street, those kinds of things I was interested in. And then in Sogobi, I just whatever I'd get, I'd shoot. If there wasn't horizon, or if there was, depending where I'd be. So I wanted to slowly break that down.
Was there any place you wanted to film from that you couldn't get access to? Or did that really come up as an issue because you only go where you had access?
Oh, in Valley Centro, I went to film the Cochrane prison on Christmas Day, and I didn't get to film that. I was held at gunpoint for a half hour by a guard. And I was just like a foot onto their land. And they're pretty ornery there. I didn't know this, they had just moved, Cochrane is the real bad boy prison in the state, and it's where Suran is, and Manson, and they had just moved like the 50 worst inmates from all over the state into that prison, and most of them were from a black prison gang. And when they arrived, the guards beat the shit out of them with nightsticks to kind of show them that they're in a new prison. And it was all caught on video. And I think Harun Faroki might have used some of that footage in his prison. It might have been that, or from Cochrane. But anyways, all those guards got fired because it was all documented what they did. And then I went there like a week later after that happened. So they thought I was somebody that was going to make go.
But you were doing an exterior of the
Yeah,
prison.
I know, but and so the guy wanted to show me that he was the guard, and he told me I had committed 2 felonies, criminal trespassing and criminal surveillance. And after a half hour, and he's got his gun like this on me, I talked him into letting me go finally. And then I called the prison system and I told them what had happened and that I didn't want that to happen to me again. I said, I thought you could film a prison. They said, oh, you can, just don't stay out on the road. And But then they said, but it's best maybe to check in and let them know.